You know, I write music because music helps me release trapped emotions. Trapped emotions that I had not even realized were trapped. It's been sitting there within me for a long period of time, for years. I've been writing songs since the 80s. And I actually had an executive producer years ago in the 80s when I was a rap artist. So all my studio time was paid for. But it didn't last because my executive producer, who was paying for everything, was a drug dealer. And he ran into some issues. His mama's house got shot up. And he was on the run for a while. And he got arrested. And he was sent up north for quite some time. So being young at the time, my head wasn't really focused. I wasn't really focused about music and songs. I was more into women. And at that point, I was just going back and forth to the clubs, hanging out with my boys, my fellas and stuff. We drinking 40 ounces and all that stuff. And my life went left for a minute. Because at the same time, I was growing up, I grew up without my father really being in my life. And for anyone who ever experienced that, sometimes that doesn't turn out the way you want, the way you plan. And it didn't work out that way for me. I wound up going to prison. And I learned valuable lessons. I learned a lot of lessons. I learned that things don't happen to you, but things happen for you. They happen to you. If you look at it from that perspective, you become a victim and you stay and remain a victim. But if you look at it from the perspective of things happening for you, then you glean lessons from those traumatic or dramatic experiences, and you learn. And it prunes you. Now, you don't stay on the right path often. A lot of times you'll fall. Even the Bible says a righteous man falleth 7 times, but he gets up, brushes himself off, and keeps it moving. That last part I kind of threw in that paraphrase. But I never realized that by writing music, it would release trapped emotions that have been buried for years, for decades. A lot of things that I thought I dealt with, I never dealt with. I just simply suppressed. And what I learned is that when you suppress an emotion, those emotions are still alive. See, emotions buried alive never die. They're fighting and clawing to get out in some form, some aspect. And for men, not just men, but women also, when that happens inside your body, it oftentimes turns into a disease or an illness. And you have that for the rest of your life. You're taking medication for a situation that has nothing to do with something that was innately there, born there from some other health issue, but simply because you suppressed emotions and kept those emotions buried for years. And now they're manifesting in a detrimental aspect in your life. So when I started writing my music, I stopped writing back in the 80s, right? 58 plus years young. I stopped writing back in the 80s, and I started writing again just recently, a little over a month ago, with the new technology. I said, you know what? Well, I can start writing this stuff again. I can use AI as an assistant to help me create my experience, and this is experience for the people who listen to it. And so I started utilizing AI. But every song that you hear on my page was written by me. There's no AI generation. The only thing this AI does is the images you see in the background and the videos that I make. I use AI to create the videos. But the songwriting itself, what you're listening to itself, even the arrangements, right? I choose all of the arrangements. I might go through 10, 20 different sounds until I have the one that I like, that I know is going to be a winner, and then I'll use that, put it with the song that I've written, and then share it with the world. And that's been my outlet. Now, what I've experienced through this is that I've had an emotional release from things that I've been suppressing for years of my life. Never even realized it was still there. I thought I dealt with that stuff. I thought I dealt with it 40, 50 years ago. But when I started writing the songs and then hearing the music, because music touches the soul. right? Music touches your soul. Music has a frequency, a vibration that can calm the savage beast. We've all heard that phrase. But when you tie that into your story, your life story, and it comes back at you, and you're able to hear your life story tied into music, that's a powerful form of therapy. And as I was writing this and producing this music and putting it out, I'm literally sitting down on my sofa and tears are just flowing. Emotions are just being erupting inside of me. I'm like, what the heck is going on? Why am I sitting here sobbing like somebody just died, just dropped dead? And then I realized those were emotions that I had buried alive, that I never dealt with. And it was a form of therapy. Every song I wrote, pretty much produced so far, I've cried. I've actually, out of nowhere, just started crying. But now I just learned to release that, to let it go, because I know it's a form of therapy. Because once I get through that tearful episode, I feel like 1,000 pounds have been lifted up off my shoulders. I'm like, oh my God, it's like I'm breathing for the first time. Like all these years I've been suffocating, not even realizing it. And now suddenly I'm writing music, I'm hearing my own music coming back at me. And it's like, oh my God, where's that been all my life? I'm breathing again. And that's one of the major issues that a lot of men walk around with all these suppressed emotions. Women also, but more so men. Women are more expressive. Women will tell you about it. Whatever they're feeling, they're going to talk about it. Any ladies on here? Can I get an amen? Put an amen in the chat. But for men were brought up, especially in my era, men don't cry. Men are told to suck it up, to man up, right? Be a man. That's what men do. They don't show their emotions. They don't expose that. And many men have learned those lessons well, very, very well. And they walk around with suppressed emotions that they've never dealt with. They thought they did by suppressing it, but those emotions are still alive. And they've been fighting and clawing all their lives. And like I said earlier, it oftentimes becomes a disease or an illness. Or if it's mental health disruptions. This is Mental Health Month for men. Mental Awareness Month for men. So that's why I'm sharing this. One reason why I'm sharing this video. Because a lot of men are told, hey, you don't cry, suck it up, stop that crying. And your fathers tell you that when you're a little boy. Stop that crying, suck it up. Get up, brush it off. Right? So the little boy, he's in pain, he's hurting. His natural response reaction is to cry, to express it, to let it out. But his father tells him to stop the crying, suck it up. Even sometimes the mothers tell him that also because they saw their father say that. In some cases, even their mama tells them that. But some of the worst things you can do is tell that little boy, stop crying, suck it up. Because that's an emotion that he's buried. He's learning to bury emotions that are still alive, that never go away. And he carries that with him. And whenever he runs through a crisis in his life, he's going to continue to bury more and more and more and more. Till now he's overwhelmed. And that's why you see so many men unaliving themselves, taking themselves out. Did you know that last year, from January to July, there were over 480,000 suicides in the United States? And 80% of those suicides were done by men. That's a crazy number. That's a crazy statistic, family. 80% of all of those suicides were done by men who didn't deal with their emotional stress, couldn't talk to anyone, couldn't cry about it, because they felt like they would be a simp by the new tech terminology, or they'll be soft, or they'll be less than a man. Sometimes they talk to the woman, hoping that woman understands. Now the woman looks at them differently. Right? They don't want to hear that. They expect you to be the piece of steel, to be strong. But by being strong all the time and not being able to bend, not being flexible, you break. There's a saying from Asia that the tree that doesn't bend during the storm breaks. See, we live in Florida. We got these palm trees. These palm trees, hurricanes come, a strong storm comes, they bend, baby. They bend. Bending is strength. Flexibility is strength. That's real strength. If you're rigid all the time, you have weakness. Something comes towards you, totally disruptive, it's going to break. You're not going to stand. And that's what happens to a lot of men. So the worst thing you can say to your little boy is stop crying, suck it up. The better thing you can say to your little boy is, yeah, I know it hurts. Go ahead and cry, but get up. You got to keep moving. The difference between that alone will save your son's life. Years when he's no longer a child. He'll handle situations differently. He'll handle stress differently. He'll know that it's okay to express himself, to let that emotion out. Because now it's no longer buried. And he won't be dealing with emotions like I've been dealing with for decades of my life. Like other men's been dealing with emotions for decades of their lives. See, I've learned to let my emotions go. And I thought I was doing a pretty good job until I started writing music, producing it, and listening to it, telling my life story, my experiences. Now they're coming back at me full-fledged. I'm hearing it in a vibratory production of music, and now it's touching my soul and causing me to release pain that I thought I had dealt with. So music is my therapy, which is one of the songs that I wrote. Music is my therapy. I don't care what you think about me, how you feel, what you thought you knew, but music is my therapy. A way that I can release everything that I've been keeping myself bound to. So if you have a health issue, one way to deal with that, or if you got things you thought you dealt with, never dealt, is still there, start writing, family. Take out a piece of paper and just start writing. Write it out on paper. Things, just do it as a test. Put it to the test. Just write. Start journaling. Write every single day. Whatever you feel emotionally, write it out on paper. Right? And then go back and look at that thing and read it out loud to yourself so you can hear it. You need to be able to hear what you've written. When you hear what you've written, it's going to touch something. It's going to touch something inside of you. And it's going to shake you up. Oh my God, I'm still holding on to this. This still bothers me. And it's going to release that trapped emotion. And it's going to set you free. You're going to feel better, be healthier, and live longer. So family, music is my therapy. And that's why I write. And I thank and appreciate everyone who has followed my page, who's subscribed to my page, who's commented on my page. And let me tell you one little secret, one reason why I started writing this music in the first place. When I was a little boy, my father said something to me that really, it shook me up for years. See, my mother was a singer. Years ago, before I was born, she sung in an R&B group in New York. And when she got pregnant with me, she gave up a lot of stuff. She made a lot of sacrifices. She didn't go to college. She moved to South Carolina with my father. Had a house down there. And she gave up so much just to help raise me. And plus they left New York because they didn't want me growing up in New York. Because back then it was a lot of gangs, a lot of gang activity. So they didn't want me growing up in that environment, to kind of save me from becoming a potential gang member also. And my mother had bought me this tape recorder. I'll never forget it. Bought me this tape recorder. And for the tape recorder, I would start recording my voice. Because I wanted to sing like my mother. So I started recording my voice every single day, singing. And then one day my father walked by my room. My father had a problem with alcohol. He walked by my room one day. The door was wide open. And I'm looking at my father. I'm expecting him to say, "Hey, son, That's great, good job. Hey, son, keep it up. But instead he said, you can't make any money singing. And he walked off. And when he said that, I want you to understand, as a child, the way I interpreted that was my father told me I can't sing. You can't make no money singing. You can't sing, boy. That's how I interpreted it. But years later, I now understand what he meant. From his perspective, you can't make any money singing. You have to get a job. You have to get a skill set. And have some type of skill so you can provide for your family. That's what he meant. But my mind back then as a child, I misinterpreted. And that impacted me. It impacted me for years, family. It impacted me for years. So I never trained my voice, right? I stopped training my voice. And I recently made a little brief snippet of a video. It's the first time I ever put my voice out there into the world since I was a little boy. Decades ago. And I had a little fear. It's amazing how you think you've gotten through things or things don't affect you until situations arise that now it challenges you to either, you know what, you're going to either deal with this for the rest of your life and suppress it and never get over it, never get past this, or you're going to walk through the challenge, meet the challenge, and do it. And doesn't matter what anybody thinks, what anybody says, you're freeing yourself. You're freeing yourself. It's all about freedom. That's what it's all about, freeing yourself, living your life in your own terms. Not caring about what somebody says on social media. Who you know, a lot of people are impacted by what other people say on social media. You don't know this person. You're never going to meet this person. Who cares? It's your life. They don't pay your light bills. They don't put food in your mouth. They don't put gasoline in your car. Right? They don't buy your clothes. But what they say matters to you, and you let them impact you by their negativity. This is your life, family. This is your life. Stop trying to fit in and just be like one of the bunch. You need to stand out. Bump who thinks otherwise. If they're saying anything negative towards you, it's because they're not happy in their own life. They think they are, but they're not happy in their own lives. In certain areas of their life, they're not happy. And they might be jealous and envious, or they want to find somebody to lash out at. Right? That they're lashing out at you when they should be lashing out at something else. They should be dealing with something that they're dealing with emotionally. So it doesn't matter what anybody thinks. You know, if you listen to my music, I've gone through quite a bit. I've gone to prison. I got in trouble with the law multiple times. Helped steal cars. I had guns in my face multiple times. Only God saved my life. I lived a rebellious lifestyle for many years of my life. I've done all types of drugs. But God had the purpose for me. I'm still here. And I've learned that all of these things happened for me. To glean the lessons from, to learn from, so now I can share my story with somebody else. I can share a story of something someone might be dealing with right now. Doesn't matter what age group they're in, what gender they are. They might be dealing with something right now. You know, I wrote a song about my first love. And I actually had to erase that. It kind of bothered me for a minute. But I still have one facet of it up as a short. But I wrote a song about my first love. And the reason why I erased it because I got a family now. Right? But I thought it was a good song to write at the time. You know, I'm writing music now. A lot of singers talk about their first love. Let me write a song about my first love. But I felt a little uncomfortable when I looked. I said, you know what? What would my sons think when they see that? Me wrapped up with another woman. How I having to explain that. And I might put it back up. That's a conversation I have with my wife, with my sons. It's just an expression of something happened for an experience. That was 40-something years ago. 40-something years ago, right? I was 19. She's like 62 right now, right? Living on, I don't even know where she is. I know she was 23 at the time. Now she's like 62, 63. She's 40 years ago, family. But anyway, I wrote that song, My First Love. I'm just thinking, oh, I'm going to sit down. Let me write a song about my first love. And after I chose the best music, wrote out the lyrics, I produced it, and I heard it coming back towards me. Family, I was sitting down on the sofa, and I started crying. I'm like, what the heck? Hold up, man. What the heck am I crying for? This is over 40 years ago when this happened. 40 plus years ago. Well, next year will be 40 years altogether. For 4 decades. I don't know anything else about her. I don't know where she is. I'm not thinking about her. But what happened was I had a trapped emotion that I never dealt with. I suppressed an emotion from that experience that I never dealt with. I suppressed it and I lived with it all this time. See, because when she broke up with me, and I realized why that happened now. Because I was a black American, African American. She was Ecuadorian, another country. And she had hid me for a long period of time. We had relations and all that. I would only see her at night, late at night when her parents were asleep. And then one day, I guess she got tired of hiding me. She told her parents about me, and she invited me over to have dinner with them. Right? So she invited me over. I met her parents. And now thinking back, I kind of remember the reaction. They allowed me to come in, but they weren't totally open to that relationship because I guess they wanted her to have her own kind. Because shortly after that, she said, I just want to be friends. So I didn't understand what happened. Why suddenly friends? We've been doing this all this time, together all this time. What happened? I didn't know what happened back then, but that's what I picked up from it. I still remember her father's face. Right now, how her father's face looked. See, memories never go away. But I remember how her father's face looked, and I kind of come to the conclusion that that's what happened. That's why it ended, right? She felt comfortable enough to invite me to meet her parents for the first time, and they probably were against it, and that's why it ended. But the point I'm making is, when she said she just wanted to be friends, my heart literally dropped, and I suppressed that emotion. I sucked it up. I was so hurt, I sucked it up, and I held onto that emotion. I never dealt with it, family. I never dealt with it. I walked away with it. Right? I didn't go through the crying, the boohooing, all that stuff. I didn't express it. How about I had to express it? I didn't express it. I suppressed it. And here, almost 40 years later, when I just wrote a simple song, I'm just going to write a song, I hear the lyrics come back at me. It's my life story about that situation. The music's touching me. I'm sitting here and I start crying. And I'm asking, what the heck am I crying for? Because I have buried that emotion and never dealt with it. Now it's been expressed. I let it go. I said goodbye. I finalized the relationship mentally that I've been still holding on to, or never dealt with that closure aspect of it for almost 40 years. It's amazing how that works. It's amazing how impactful it is. Something just like that. When you bury an emotion and the reality of the situation is no longer in your life, but you carry that with you. See, my mother had the same experience. My mother's father, my grandfather, died. He had cancer. She never cried at the funeral because she wanted to be strong and support everybody else. She wanted to support her sister, who was younger than she was. But my mother never cried. After the funeral was over, a few months went by. My mother shared this story with me. She said one day she was in the kitchen, and she was preparing food, doing something. She lives in South Carolina. She said she was preparing food, and all of a sudden, these tears started rolling down her face. And she's like, oh my God, what's going on? Why am I crying? And then someone close to her said, Diane, those are tears for your father. You never cried for your father. You never expressed grief for your father. Those are tears for your father. And she's like, yeah, you're right. She never cried. She suppressed that emotion. Thought she dealt with it, being strong for everybody else. And time goes by. Now she's in the kitchen doing something totally unrelated. And she starts crying. And didn't know what was happening. Emotions buried alive never die. So the takeaway from this, I know this has been pretty long. I didn't expect it to be this long. But I hope this touches someone. And I hope you love and can really appreciate the music that I'm writing. Because I'm writing about experiences that I know you might be able to relate to. And I hope this helps you open up and finally realize what's been happening inside your life, why your life is not being perfect, why your life is in the way it is right now, and you feel like, I know it should be totally different. That might be something that you have suppressed. Maybe some trauma that happened in your life as a child. Maybe some loss that you experienced in your life. But whatever it is, something you have suppressed that's still antagonizing you. That's still causing disruption inside your life. So I hope this has helped you. I hope the music I write helps you. And I want you to understand, every song that I write, there's a message in it. If you listen from start to finish, you'll see a message. I'm sharing with you what I've done, what I did. Yes, these are real stories. I did this. I did these things. Sometimes they sound very horrible. Sometimes they sound very worldly, but at the end, I'm sharing the moral of the story and a message. Something I've learned and something I'm sharing with whoever listens who might be going through the same issues. As long as you have God in your life. You might not believe in God. But you need to have a moral compass. See, God is more than just God to me. God is my moral compass. When you have a moral compass, a sense of value, something that's higher than where you are, something that you want to aspire to become like, and that's a good thing, not a bad thing, not a disruptive thing, but something that's really going to help you in your life and someone else's life if they follow the same suit, then that's a moral compass that you can follow, and it might be where you start at. It probably won't be where you end, but it's a guide. It's like a GPS. You have a GPS that's going to guide you to a destination that you want to aspire to. And once you get to that destination, you might realize, you know what, I can go higher. I can do better. So start writing, start journaling. Write down everything you're experiencing, everything you're feeling. And whatever you feel, don't suppress it. Because feelings buried alive never die. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to my music. And if you haven't heard the new song already, this is it here on my page. You can check it out. I'm going to play a little bit right now, then I'm going to check it out on my YouTube channel. Subscribe, like, and share.
Every day is not the same. Girl, I love it when you call my name. Why must we fight, baby? And why must we struggle? Every day is not the same. Girl, I love it when you call my name. When I first met you, it was over the internet. I was a trainer back then, and that's how we met. You said you wanted to work out and exercise virtually back then. I didn't really realize what was ahead of me, so I trained you and your sister online. Maybe 2 or 3 days a week, it was fine. We did it over the telephone back then. There were no cameras on the laptops or the computers like there are today. So I would call you on the phone and tell you what to do. It was simple back then. That's when it all began, when I was a fitness model and my MySpace page was blowing up. I got an offer to be flown down to Florida for a photo shoot, so I took the photographer up on it. All expenses were paid. I was supposed to come down and he was gonna pay for a hotel. That is when you intercepted. You drove up to the airport, picked me up, and that is how we connected. We went back to the hotel and stayed there for several days. Just wrapped up and caught up in that maze. Why must we fight, babe? And why must we struggle? Every day is not the same. Girl, I love it when you call my name. Why must we fight, babe?
All right, family, you can check that out on my YouTube channel. Again, I want to thank you all for following me, for subscribing. If you got any questions, drop it in the comments. Drop it in the chat. And I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Keep winning, family. And men, it's okay to cry. Don't tell your little boys, stop crying, suck it up. Tell them, I know it hurts. Go ahead and cry. But get up. You got to keep moving. You'll save their life.